Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's been 8 months since I last uploaded videos on this channel. To be honest, motherhood's a bit crazy, especially as a single mother. So the last video I actually uploaded, I was 32 weeks pregnant. I did want to film like other pregnancy updates and like a labour vlog and stuff, but my labour didn't really go as planned. I wanted to have like a midwifery-led unit birth, and be like hypnobirthing, water birth and stuff, but it literally could have gone any opposite if I tried. And yeah, it was just all a bit crazy, but we both lived to tell a tale, and we shall be telling you that tale today. So as you can see, I've had my beautiful baby daughter. Her name is Mila Bow, and she was born on the 9th of July 2019 by emergency C-section. And it was a very hard time, so even though I found it really traumatic, I want to try and paint it in as positive light as possible. So I feel like the internet's kind of littered with negative birth experiences, and when you're pregnant and you're watching all these oh pardon me, because when you're pregnant and watching all these negative birth videos and just reading about negative experiences, it does make you really anxious to give birth. And even though my birth at the time I thought was horrendous, I have had a debrief and I've been able to piece it all back together and just kind of get over it. I'll say get over it, I'm still kind of struggling with anxiety and stuff, but I've just had a chance to move on now. So the last bit of my pregnancy was fine. Obviously it was July when I gave birth, so it was really hot in the UK, we had a massive heat wave. I was incredibly swollen, incredibly uncomfortable, eating everything in sight. I gained about a stone in my last couple of weeks of pregnancy. And at my 20-week scan I did discover that Mila had a cleft lip, as you probably noticed. And that's, when you go back from my previous videos, that's kind of like alluding to something we found out during the scan. We did have to get the extra scans and stuff as well, but I wanted to film separate videos on having a baby with a cleft. She's actually got her surgery very, very soon, so we'll be sort of talking you through our cleft journey so far and going through surgery and recovery, so I'm going to document it all as well as I can. I do intend to write a blog as well to accompany most of my videos if I can, and do separate blogs just for better accessibility. So I had my last scan at 36 weeks and she was estimated to be weighing £6 11 ounces, and every scan we had we were trying to like see how bad the cleft was and stuff, and just to see how well she's swallowing. We want to see if she has palate involvement. Again, I will go into more detail during the cleft video when I film it. And that went well, and after that it was just wait until you have a baby. At my last scan as well, I was also told I'd have to stay in hospital for a couple of nights purely because she is cleft affected, just to make sure feeding's established and stuff, because they can struggle with feeding. Well, as you can see, she isn't. I will also be doing a separate video on my breastfeeding journey so far. Then on my due date, which was the 7th of July, I had what I call my bloody show. I did actually film a couple of videos that I intended to put into a labour vlog. First of all, I want to excuse my appearance, but I've been up since 2 o'clock this morning. It's now 11:30 and I am in labour. I am 40 weeks and 1 day. My due date was yesterday, which was the 7th of July, and now we're on Monday the 8th. I'm about to head out to a midwife appointment. I have rang the hospital I intend to deliver at and just given a heads up and everything. What the hell? But I had a bloody show last night, or yesterday morning, sorry. And I've been having contractions since about 2 o'clock this morning, so for the past 9 hours I am absolutely knackered.
I'm about to walk down to my midwife, which is about 500 metres away from me, and I was scheduled to have a sweep today anyway, but it would be nice to assess the situation, see what's really going on, see how far dilated I am, and just, yeah, I'm getting very close to meeting my little daughter, so yes, this should be my labour vlog. So I'm back from the midwife. I had a cervical sweep, and my cervix is 2 centimetres dilated and about 80% effaced, which is amazing. Your cervix is like a tube, like a long tube, when it's not effaced, and when it is effaced, fully effaced, it's like really thin. It dilates very easily. So the fact my cervix is dilated and effaced is brilliant. I'm having contractions about 5 minutes apart at the moment. They're getting very, very intense. Oh yeah, I've had so many contractions, like ridiculous amount. So it's now 2:10 in the afternoon. The sweep was quite uncomfortable. Yeah, it's not really nice having your midwife have her hand up you, basically, like a finger puppet. But she managed to walk my cervix round from the back to the front, and yeah, she was able to do the sweep, and she hasn't booked me in for another one, like another appointment, because she feels like by next week I'll have my baby. I had a Bishop score of 7 out of 10, which is really good as well, which means I could go into labour in the next couple of days, like full labour. So I am in labour at the moment, just as early stages. It's getting really intense, the pain's ridiculous. I'm trying to eat and drink as much as possible, but like, I don't want to eat too much because I don't want to feel sick or anything. I'm just trying to chill out at home as much as possible, and yeah, so that's how things are going at the moment.
So I had my bloody show on the 7th. On the 9th of the 7th as well, or was it the night of the 6th? One of those nights, me and my mum did a bump cast, and that was literally like 11:30, because I was so certain I'd go into labour really soon. I just felt ready for labour. So we did that in the bathroom, then a couple of hours later I had my bloody show and the contractions came. Now I experienced my first contraction at 2 AM on the 8th of July, and it wasn't too bad. It was, everyone sort of says like it's like period pain at the beginning, and yeah, I guess at the beginning it was. I was just sat in bed and sort of felt a niggle, and I was like, that's not a Braxton Hick. And had another pain about 8 minutes after that. Then I started timing my contractions on one of my baby pregnancy apps, and I just, you know, timed the duration between. The rest of the afternoon I just laboured in my bedroom, just on my bed like I am now, watched some YouTube videos and just tried to chill out and get in the zone. But it got to about, I think it was like 8 o'clock in the evening, and I was proper struggling. My sister had gone back to her flat, so we had to call her back to come over, and we called the midwife unit at the hospital I was giving birth at, which is about 20 miles away, and they were closed. I'm like, well, that goes my hypnobirthing water birth. So we had to call the delivery suite, which is consultant led, and they said, yeah, come in, you know, you sound like you're a neighbour. We'll assess you, and if you're not a neighbour, we'll send you home. So off we went, and when I arrived, my temperature and my heart rate was quite high. I did try and tell them that my heart rate is usually high anyway, because I do have underlying health issues, and that's quite common for me to be tachycardic and stuff, but they were like, you know, it's not really normal, you need to kind of keep an eye on it. So they decided they was going to admit me, and I was given a nice big spacious room, but as it was July it was absolutely roasting. But downstairs they had fans, so they got me a fan, which is good. and I had my mum, bless her, running over to the tap every 5 minutes to wet my flannel. Just to keep me cool really, because when I get too hot I do tend to struggle. Are you going to go to sleep, baby? So yeah, I moved to a bigger room, and he said the plan is just keep watching the contractions with the sort of the CTG belt and stuff, and the baby's heart rate, just to monitor you. And they came to break my waters about, I think it was like 2 o'clock in the morning on the 9th of July, and that sort of sped things along a bit. Then the doctor came round and gave me the hormone drip, and that's sort of speeds up your labour. I started struggling really bad with pain relief. I tried gas and air and everything, and I ended up saying, look, just give me an epidural, which I didn't want. On my birth plan, the strongest drug I wanted was pethidine. No. And every hour with the epidural, because you're essentially paralysed, they have to manually empty your bladder with a catheter. And that was all well and good until about 7 o'clock in the morning, and the midwife entered my bladder as usual, and Mila's heart rate dropped, and it didn't recover as quickly as it should have. And her heart rate is dipping quite a lot, and they say after 90 minutes, if your baby's heart rate doesn't recover as it should, they call a doctor in. So the doctor's called in, he stayed for about 10 minutes and just watched her heart rate, and it started recovering well at that point, so they left. Then after they emptied my bladder again, her heart rate dropped and didn't recover again, so they decided to examine me. And at this point I was 7 centimetres dilated. When I first arrived I was 3 in the early hours. Then they carried on monitoring her heart rate and my heart rate. They got me to change positions because obviously epidurals are needle on your back, so you're stuck on a bed. You can only roll to the left or roll to the right. And rolling over to the left helped a little bit, but then her heart rate started getting bad again. So they changed positions and they examined me again. This was literally 2 minutes after they examined me when I was 7 centimetres dilated. And the doctor's like, no, she's actually 9 centimetres dilated. So it'd been a few hours now of her heart rate dropping and not recovering correctly. So they started doing something called fetal blood sampling, which is when this is really graphic, but it's birth. So they put a speculum into the vagina, open it up, and take blood samples from the top of the baby's head. Obviously the water's already been broken, so they were able to do this. And they can only do that 3 times with an hour's space in between. And what that does is measures the fetal blood acidity. And if it gets too acidic, it means the baby's in distress and the acid in the baby's blood is building too much, and it can starve the baby of oxygen. And when I went to my debrief, the specialist said, you know, if it left it any longer, she could have been brain damage or stillborn. So it's a good job what happened really. So after the 3rd one, the result was quite low, and it was like she had to be born immediately basically. And I was starting to go really unwell. I was starting to shake violently, and my heart rate and temperature just wasn't like getting better. So they did a blood test on me as well. Then the doctor said, look, we're going to do an emergency C-section now. Because I had the epidural placed and stuff, I didn't have to go under a general anaesthetic or anything. But by this point I'd been in labour in hospital for like 10 hours, and my family hadn't eaten anything, so my sister had gone out to get a sandwich from reception, and they were like, right, we're going to theatre like now. So they're like, who's going to go into theatre with Abby? And my mum was like, oh, Harley is my sister. So a midwife had to run into reception. My sister was queuing up to get a sandwich, and she's like, right, you have to go to theatre now, we're going to do a C-section. So she came running in, put the scrubs on stuff. The scrubs are too small, like they literally scrubbed the first one they could see. then we got rushed in, and they do what you call a load-in, so they give you a full dose of the epidural, so you're completely paralysed, you literally can't move. With epidural, like, epidurals are weird, like, you have to press a button every 15 minutes, and you can still move your legs and stuff, but you just can't stand up or anything really. You just can't feel them. But with an epidural and a C-section, you have to be completely paralysed from about your chest down. And I have a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and local anaesthetics don't really tend to work on me. You have to get special ones. So I had epidurals and spinals, and still wasn't paralysed. One leg was completely dead and the other wasn't. So they had to like tilt me over and try and get this other leg to go numb. They were spraying me with this freeze spray to see if I could feel it, and I could. And they really couldn't deliver Mila until I was completely numb. And eventually I did feel numb enough, and I was about to go ahead and do it. So that was fine. Then they delivered her at 2 in the afternoon on the 9th of July.
Oh my god! There you go. Do you want to touch her?
Hello, baby. Oh, she's got brown eyes. Oh. She is so cute.
She's about to be weighed, so I won't get her too settled.
Yeah, okay.
But do you want to hold her for a minute, and you can hold her close to Mum? Are you feeling up to it?
Yeah.
She weighed £7 11 ounces, and she was absolutely fine. But they did blood tests on her and me, and my blood test came back that I had sepsis. I had a severe infection. When they opened me up, my bladder and my uterus was both severely swollen. I had free fluid in my abdomen, and the surgeons both noticed a really bad smell when they cut me open. They're going to go to sleep. And at this point as well, they had to make extra incisions on my uterus, literally butcher me, to get Mila out because she'd become impacted. They did try and do an instrumental delivery, but it wasn't dilated enough, and because of Mila's positioning in my pelvis, they couldn't get her out. She was too high up to be retrieved with forceps or 1-2s, but also too low down to fully be able to get out safely with a C-section, so they had to do extended incisions on the uterus. Then a third surgeon had to come in and use a surgical mesh to rebuild my uterus afterwards as well. And I then had a severe postpartum hemorrhage. I lost 2 litres of blood, but the blood wasn't from the placenta burial site or where the incision was made. It's idiopathic, they couldn't see where it's coming from. So I lost a lot of blood. Usually C-sections take about half an hour, but mine was 3 hours long. It was really bad. I started having panic attacks, stuff through it. The anaesthetist kept saying to me, do you want me to put you under? I was like, no, because I wanted my sister to be there, and I don't want her to be away from Mila either. And at some point during the C-section as well, I began to feel my stomach burning, like really, really bad. And I sort of said to the anaesthetist, look, I literally feel like I'm being blowtorched, I'm not sure what's going on. He was like, oh, it's maybe the lights and stuff. I'm like, no, I literally feel like I'm on fire. So at this point they stopped the surgery, and they tried topping up with epidurals, but it wasn't working. So they had to give me fentanyl and diamorphine, and that's pretty much all I remember. Then I was taken back through to the delivery suite to my room where my dad was let in, and I was still on a drip. They'd given me the chance to hold Mila in a C-section and stuff, but just because of my anxiety attacks and stuff, I just didn't feel safe. Like, I just felt really, really poorly, especially with sepsis, and I was starting on antibiotics straight away. And I stayed in the room in the delivery suite for about 5 o'clock in the evening, and we transferred up about midnight to the postnatal ward. And I did want to breastfeed Mila, but when I was told at the 20-week scan about her cleft, or else I wouldn't be able to, so I wasn't really prepared. Though I did want to express and give her that. So I wanted to harvest colostrum, but because I was too poorly, I had a shooting midwife basically milk me and collect it in syringes to feed to Mila, because obviously the first day I didn't need that much anyway. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, on the 10th of July, that's when I first fed her properly, like breastfed, and she latched on straight away. Again, I will do a separate video on breastfeeding. Feeling quite unwell the day after the C-section. When you have C-section, you have a catheter and stuff because your bladder's paralysed, so at this point I had a tube going into a bladder and a bag full of wee attached to my bed, which was nice, and a lovely incision across the bottom of my stomach, which it's horrendous. Thank God hospital beds like raise and lower, because I wouldn't been able to sit up or anything about it. And I wanted to go and have a shower, and I just felt really unwell. The midwife was really pressuring me to go and have a wash and stuff, and I just didn't put up to it. I did manage to go and have a shower, like a quick one with my sister. I came back to my bed, and the doctor came around to see me, and I was like, oh, look, I feel really unwell. And they did another blood test on me at that point, estimated the amount of blood I lost. And they was like, you shouldn't really be up here yet. We're going to transfer you back down to delivery, and we're going to give you some blood transfusions if you don't mind. Because my haemoglobin was like 55 or something, it should be between 130 and 160. So the haemoglobins and stuff, I think it's the stuff that carries the blood round, the oxygen round in your blood, sorry. So it's quite important and very well needed. So I went back down and had the blood transfusions and felt immediately better, and I also managed to convince the midwives to remove my catheter and mobilise enough so I could go to the toilet and wee normally. And I was losing a lot of blood in my urine and stuff as well, and I think that's because of my bladder infection and sepsis and stuff. And it was nice to be back down to the delivery suite actually, because the postnatal ward was so hot and stuffy, whereas the delivery suite is like nice and airy and there's fans, and they were brilliant down there. And I came back upstairs, I think it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was in the nursery, and the midwife noticed that Mila was a bit orange. And we thought Mila was nice and tanned and has a nice colour to her skin, and she measured her bilirubin levels in her skin with the monitor, and she tested positive for jaundice. So she had to go into phototherapy lights for, I think it was it 12 or 24 hours? Basically a massive incubator, spaceship looking thing, and it was just taking so much room in the bay. And luckily all of the side rooms came free, and we were able to go into one of the side rooms, which was great. So had an ensuite and stuff as well, and there's more space. And we stayed there in that room for like 5 days. So I just was discharged a week later, and we both continued on our antibiotics because Mila had high infection levels as well. On the same morning actually, before she was diagnosed with jaundice, they said, you know, her infection levels were really high from her bloods. They suspected she had meningitis, so she had to go down to the NICU and have a lumbar puncture to test for meningitis, which thank God came back negative, and then she went under the lights. So she had such a tough day, and she was only like a day old at that point. But in hospital she was doing really well, she was feeding well, you know, lots of wet and dirty nappies, which was great. And then we were able to come home after 7 days in hospital. So recovering from an emergency C-section was horrendous. Having a newborn baby and recovering from major surgery and being a single parent at all the same time was just wow. The first time I went out properly after surgery was 12 days post, and we went to my local car boot sales. Just walking around, I was just hanging on to the pram for dear life, walking around really slowly, And everyone's like, oh, you look so well for just giving birth. Like, looking at me, you know, because she was a tiny newborn at this point. You're like, oh, 12 days, you know, postpartum, brilliant for being out. And my mum was like, yeah, and she's had emergency C-section, like, proper milk in it. And it took it out of me, but I was so glad to get out in the fresh air after being cooped up in the sweaty hospital for like 7 days. And postpartum recovery, like, my scar and everything's fine. I had no issues with healing from the surgery at all. I did struggle a lot in the beginning weeks with feeding her, not because the latch was an issue or anything, but because when she was on me in my chest, I kind of felt close and then claustrophobic like I did when I was on the operating table. And yeah, I just really struggled, so I requested a debrief, which I had in November, and they sort of just pieced everything back together and answered my questions. And when I was in hospital recovering after the birth, a couple of days after I gave birth, the surgeons came up to my room and sort of said to us, I don't think you both realise how close we were to losing you both, or one of you, or both of you. And that sort of stuck with me, like, just I couldn't imagine being without Mila now. He's fallen asleep, it's a nap time. Keep looking at my watch, I think my watch is charging. And so I have my beautiful daughter here with me, and she is now 6 months old, and it's gone so quickly. Motherhood is both the best and most loneliest thing I've ever gone through. I've lost friends, but I've gained other friends from going to like mum and baby groups and stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm so sorry it's taken me so long to sort of film it for you, but I'm a mum now, a single mum, single breastfeeding mum. Don't really have much time to myself, and now I'm at bed. So thank you for watching. I do plan on filming some more videos. I'd like to upload twice a week if I can, and write accompanying blogs. So I really want to make a go of it, and I'm going to put everything I have into it, hopefully. So yes, thank you for watching this video. Take care, and I shall speak to you soon. Toodles from me and Mila Bubbles. Mwah.